All right, welcome back to the shop. So this video today is going to be about this M274 A1 Mechanical Mule. I've had it here for a few months now. When it first showed up, it was a running vehicle, everything about it, but it did need just a little bit of work just to get things kind of started for us. So we went through and changed all the fluids, did all that kind of stuff, took the gas tank off, cleaned it out, put a screen in there, and put a filter on the back. Not exactly stock. You know, stock they have a filter in the tank and they've got a water separator in the back, but I just did a little bit different, mainly because I didn't have the right parts for it. But and it's got the wrong seats. I threw this seat on just so we can haul the grandkids around on it and haul somebody else on it. I didn't even put it on straight because I just used existing holes because I didn't want to drill any new holes. I'm going to do something different on the seats later, but for now this will work. I just picked these up at Tractor Supply. It still has some issues. It's got some stuff I need to do. You see one of the nuts is missing here, and the you know, the tie down bracket that's supposed to swivel. You see these barely swivel. I got to rebuild all of those, and I need to rebuild this hub because this hub is stuck on the shaft. So I've got to get the parts for that before I take it apart. In fact, we're missing a lug nut on there too, but it runs good. It's a cool little mule. What I want to do to it today, the brakes stick on it a little bit. They were really bad, but they're getting better and better. We kind of sprayed some lube on the linkage and stuff, and but it still hangs up a little bit. So I want to put this on the lift today and pull the drum off and see what's going on with the linkage and with the shoe inside, and just see if I'm going to need to put brake shoes in it or what's going on, and then just kind of free up the linkage so it's not stuck anymore. So it's got the parking brake lever right here. It's the same brake. There's one brake for the whole vehicle. Here's the foot brake. So it uses the same brake, and you can see it's adjusted. It's tight. It works really good. Sometimes it does roll to a stop, and then you can tell the brake's not dragging very much. But sometimes when you come to a stop, or most of the time, you'll come to a stop and it'll just grab and it doesn't let go. And you can drive it fine. You don't hear any noise or anything, any problems. It doesn't feel like it's dragging hard, but it's dragging a little bit. So I want to get it up on the lift, and we'll check this out and see what's going on. All right, let's get this thing started, and then I'll show you guys a little bit how the brakes are dragging as I drive it back to the shop. All right, so parking brakes off, get it in reverse, get back over here to the driveway. Pushing the clutch, and I'll kind of slow down and let it come to a stop. And then I don't know if the camera picks that up or not, but it just kind of, so I didn't have my foot on the brake. It came to a hard stop like I was pushing the brake. So it doesn't drag real bad, but it does drag a little bit. So let's get this thing back there. See, I didn't use the brakes at all, and you can tell it slowed itself down. So let's back it up a little bit. And yes, this one has electric start, and that's the way I want it. You can see it has a spot here. I forget if it's here where the pull start went. I think it was here. Yeah, the pull starter's not on there anymore. It's just got the electric start. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going. I'll shut the camera off while I get it on the lift, and then I'll come back to you guys when we start working on this parking brake. So these mules are made to be able to, when you go to work on them underneath, you can just flip them over onto the right side. There's 3 valves back here that you shut off. There's one here. There's one over here on the fuel. There's 3 altogether. And you flip it over so the fuel tank's up on the high side. If you do it vented, if your fuel tank cap works right, there's a valve right here you could flip, which will seal this as well. But that's usually not a problem unless you have it like totally full. You might splash some out. But I'm just putting it up here on the 12,000 pound lift. It's just gonna be easier to work on it up here. So we'll probably come in here off the right side, off the starboard side. We'll pull these 4 bolts on the drive shaft. We'll get the drive shaft out of the way. And then there's a retaining nut that's going to come off so we can slide the brake drum off. And hopefully, I haven't done this yet to one of these, so I'm kind of learning as I go. I do have the maintenance TM on it that shows the parts inside and everything. And it roughly says how to do it. But we're just going to go ahead and try it and see what we can do. It's dragging a little bit. You can see it is turning freely, but I can feel it dragging seriously when I'm just pulling on a wheel here to turn it. So I want to see if I can get that thing freed up, just so we can get rid of that problem. And then eventually I'm going to be getting some tie rods for this thing. It needs all new tie rods. They're all worn out. I do have the bushing here for the toe. This is the bell crank for the tow bar. I've got the tow bar for it, but it works as part of the steering unit. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off, put a new bushing in there. I do have it. I'm not doing that today, obviously, but first off, I just want to get this parking brake working. So let me get the tool cart over here and we'll get started on this. All right, so these are 5/16 bolts to take a 1/2-inch wrench. There's no room to get a socket in here, so I'm just gonna have to do it with the open end of a wrench. I don't even know if I get the box end in there. Yeah, I can't even do that. So it's gonna take a little while to unthread all these. So there's no reason to show you guys. I'll get them out and I'll bring the camera back in. All right, well that didn't take too long. Got those 4 bolts out. Just had to get a big screwdriver in here, kind of pop this off. We'll just push that drive shaft out of the way. Next we'll get a socket on here. We'll pull this nut off, and then I'm hoping just the drum will come off. The book kind of talks about stuff coming off in groups. So I'm going to pull this nut off. We'll see if we can slide the drum off or see what comes off with it. I know there's they call this a shaft here. They call it, they got some weird name for it. I'll have to look it up. And then I think it comes off with the drum, and then we should see the backing plate and the shoes in there. Okay, so I just grabbed a 1/2-inch impact, 1/16 socket, and took that nylock off. And then I started pulling this drum. I just got a screwdriver behind it just to kind of break it loose. And I haven't even pulled it off yet. I'm gonna do it with the camera going. So there's the brake shoes, everything inside there. And then here's the drum. Drum looks really good. Nice. Okay. Put that down there, and then the main thing I guess I'm just gonna have to check this linkage. I got the pin, doesn't even have a cotter pin in it. I just push that out by hand. So I'm gonna pull that pin out to begin with, and then see what happens. See where it sticks at. See if it's there's a bell crank up here for the brakes. See if that's what's sticking, or if it's the linkage here. Oh, look at that, the linkage in the brake is not sticking at all. It's got these little roller things. See, it's got those little rollers that move the shoes. You pull that roller moves it up. I think I'm going to lubricate that stuff with some anti-seize. So I'm not going to bother pulling all this off. There's no reason to go through that. It's not leaking, so I don't have to worry about the seal. Looks like it's in the bell crank. So I'm going to have to tack this bell crank up here. Let me see if I can get a better camera angle on that. Yeah, we come up here. Let me get some light. All right, get my Harbor Freight light. So here's the bell crank right here. I'm gonna have to find out what is causing it to stick. Pretty cool looking linkage on here. You've got this arm that comes across here, and you got this cable in the back that goes to the foot brake, or no, it goes to the parking brake lever, and then this cable up in the front half up here that goes to the foot pedal. I'll get my finger out of the way of the camera. And then the center link here with that Heim joint on there, that goes to the brake unit itself. So I'll just kind of start picking away at this thing. I did spray some lube in here a while back just to make sure that it wasn't stuck or rusted or anything. So I'm gonna have to explore a little bit more and figure out what's holding it up. So I don't know if you guys can hear that noise in the background, but I just discovered that some friends of ours 2 properties over having a wedding going on in their front yard. So hopefully it doesn't get too loud. If it does, I'm gonna have to just kind of stop videoing, if it's gonna wreck the video or not, and finish it up later. But hopefully I can get this done tonight. Okay, so I started kind of investigating this to see what was holding it up. It definitely was not the parking brake lever. Let's see if I can get this flashlight to stay in here by itself. There we go. So the parking brake lever pulls that back arm right there. And it's actually got this kind of a separate thing on here to slack it up. I don't know if you guys can see, it like bends in half right there. It kind of slacks it up. And that had plenty of play in it, so that wasn't holding it up. So then I unhooked, it's got the quick disconnects here. You know, this one's for the clutch, the throttle, and then for the brake. So I disconnected the brake one, and now that gives me plenty of adjustment in here where it won't be dragging on it. So I think it's just this adjustment right here on this heim joint. Looks like someone's adjusted the heck out of it. It's screwed almost all the way into the heim joint. Yeah, look how much thread is in there. So I'm going to lubricate this up. I'll back this up, and then I can hook everything back up, and then I will go ahead and adjust it, you know, just properly, so it'll be, you know, sitting where it should. All right, so I'm going to spray some of this in there, this freeze off. If you guys haven't seen this stuff yet, this stuff is incredible. It actually breaks up the rust, and then it'll lubricate it too. You spray it on there, and it comes out really cold, and it'll just kind of shatters the rust somehow. This thing's not a real rust bucket or anything, but it does have some rust. You know, probably just from sitting outside. There, so we just I'll let that penetrate that for a little bit, and I'll go ahead and back this nut off right here and back that rod out. Then we'll get this thing back together and adjust it. All right, so I got that backed off. It wasn't stuck really bad. I was able to spin it out about halfway. Now I'm going to go ahead and put it back into the quick connect. I'm going to see if I can set my camera up here on the tripod so you guys can see how this quick connect or disconnect, whatever hooks up. So if I get this thing sitting halfway level. There we go. So you just take this right here, this slides against that, pushes against that spring, it just slides on there. And you almost need 3 hands to do it, but it's not too bad. Kind of pinches the fingers a little bit. There you go. And then that just slides in there and it locks it in. They put these on here because this basket's removable. There's just these two bolts that hold it down. This is one of the bolts. It's got this lever on there, and this bolt down here on the bottom. And then you undo these 3 disconnects, and this thing will come off completely. And if I didn't have a battery here, I think it's on this side. Yeah, it'll store in here. And the only reason they did that, you don't really drive it without that. You obviously can't, but they did that for shipping these things, that it would take this much room off the front. It would take 2 feet off the front when they'd stack them in to ship them somewhere. All right, so I've got the pin back in here on that linkage, and instead of putting a regular cotter pin in there, I'm gonna go ahead and put one of these pins in it. I forget what they call these, like a hitch pin or whatever. And that way it'll be easier for me to get in here and work on it later. So put that in there, that'll keep that. And then I sprayed some lube in here. I was gonna put some anti-seize, but I couldn't find my anti-seize. Just didn't want to look too hard. But I put some lube on here that I use for the chain on my automatic gate. It's a chain lube. It's made to stick on there and not really run or anything. So that should be a good lubricant for that. So let me get this flashlight out of the way. See if I can get this thing mounted over this side, so we get some better light in here. This thing's mostly magnesium. It's just the frame parts, there we go, are steel. So it's kind of hard to find a spot sometimes to mount a magnet. All right, so let's pick up the drum. We're gonna slide the drum on. Try to line up those holes. Yeah, there we go. So the holes are lined up now. I'll go ahead and, no, actually they're not. There we are, now they're lined up. All right, so let's get the nylock on there. Let me see, I'm gonna put a couple of these bolts in here just to line this up. All right, so I got that tightened down. I'm gonna pull these back out. If you're just doing the shoes, you don't have to pull that companion yoke out, and all you have to do is just pull the drive shaft off, and this drum will come off. Okay, let me go ahead and get this drive shaft on, and I'll get back to you. All right, so I've got the drive shaft hooked back up. I've got it tightened down. I've got the pin back in, the linkage up here. I've got the front disc quick disconnect back together on the cable, and it spins so much freer. So I guess I should have just checked that to begin with. I just assumed it was frozen up and then the linkage was stuck. So I'm gonna have to do a little adjusting here. Not a big deal. In fact, it's right about there actually. So there's not really any bounce in the cable. Pull the brakes. Yeah, I got a little bit of free pedal, and then I've got some good braking on there. Got a parking brake. Yeah, I've got parking brake. Parking brake's pulling up against the shoes. Feels good. So let me get this thing. I'll tighten this nut up here on the brake cable for the pedal, and then I'll get this thing off the lift and we'll give it a test drive. Hopefully we can get it done before they start their wedding, because I don't want to make a bunch of noise when that's going on over there. All right, so I've got it off the lift and I can pull this thing now. Before it was like really hard to pull. I should have checked the cable first. I don't know, I just figured it was in that linkage, because that linkage did look all rusty and stuff. So let's fire this thing up. We'll drive it around just a little bit and I'll take it up to the front yard. Yeah, the brakes work really good now. Put the parking brake on, we'll see. Yeah, the parking brake holds really good. All right, well, thank you guys for watching. It's not the greatest video in the world, I'm sure. I haven't put one out in about 5 weeks. I've just had a lot of stuff going on, personal issues and stuff at work. Just been real busy. So finally got a chance to sit down and do something, to do a video. And well, we got the parking brake fix on this too. So thanks for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and please share the video with a friend if the video is at any remotely interesting at all. Anyways, thanks for watching.